You know, if there's one thing that Donald Trump is actually pretty good at, it is injecting chaos into nearly every single thing that he has a hand in. I don't know if he thrives in this environment or what, but he came into office, he put on tariffs against Canada and Mexico, our biggest trading partners. He walked back from those. We move forward to Liberation Day. He implements these insanely high tariffs against most of the world. He puts those into effect for a few hours. Then he walks back from those for another 90 days. And then even late last week, he's threatening to put another 50% tariff on the EU because they're just not working fast enough to come to some sort of deal with the dear leader. He also threatened Apple with insane tariffs as well because he wants to control where they are actually producing their goods. So it is all chaos all of the time. And you even have people like Joe Kernen, who would probably be considered a MAGA loyalist. Even he is getting fed up with all of this uncertainty. Just listen to the way he introduces this segment when he's talking to Kevin Hassett here. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
President Trump delaying the 50% tariff on the European Union until July 9th. With insight to the president's plan and much more, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Good to have you on, Kevin. As always, the way we intro that, it's like, oh, yeah, the 50% tariff on the EU. Today's Tuesday. We didn't even hear about that until the show on Friday. Right. So things move fast. I guess there's time dilation is a fact in general relativity. But these are moving very quick.
So obviously he's pretty irritated. He's saying, well, Donald Trump is now pausing these 50% tariffs that he threatened against the EU, but we didn't even hear about those until last Friday, just like 3 days ago. Donald Trump just has no plan for what he's actually doing. Like I said, on a whim, he will just go out there, he'll implement new tariffs, threaten to implement new tariffs, and then somebody calls him up on the phone, and then all of a sudden, we've got another pause that we need to consider moving forward. Donald Trump just clearly has no idea what he is doing. And I want to go ahead and move on to a portion of this interview where they're talking about Apple and how Donald Trump is trying to control where they are producing their goods. And Joe Kernen rightly points out, like, what is Tim Cook exactly supposed to do here?
We were already talking about off-ramps on Friday. Right after they announced, we're talking about off-ramps. And we're trying to figure out an off-ramp for Apple. It'd be a $3,000 iPhone if they tried to make everything here.
$3,500.
$3,500 for a good one, for the kind you'd like, probably, Hassett. But what's the offer?
I'm a smoke signal kind of guy.
What's the supply? Yeah, what's the supply chain issue? I mean, what is Tim Cook supposed to do?
Right. Well, we'll see how it works out. But the bottom line is that what we're trying to do is onshore as much as we can in the U.S. and make it so that the U.S. is not hyper dependent on imports from China. Right. And so I think that one of the things we're seeing is that people are moving way faster than you might expect. If you look at the 20% equipment investment in the first quarter before the tariffs even came in, with supply chains moving fast and just-in-time inventory management and AI, I think you're going to be astonished at how quickly stuff moves onshore.
But Kevin,
and that's what we're shooting for. And in the interim, then we'll see how it works out. But they need to move their stuff onshore as much as possible to make it so that the U.S. economy is secure and not prone to Chinese extortion.
So just think about what's going on here, guys. You've got the Trump administration who is pretty much commanding a private company to move their manufacturing to where the administration says so, or else you are going to be penalized with these insane tariffs. Donald Trump is more communist than Biden or Obama ever was. This is what a command and control economy might look like, where you've got the president of the United States telling private companies where they need to manufacture their goods. And it's not like Apple is producing things that are, important to our national security, like missiles or rockets or things like that. Of course, it's understandable that we maybe want pharmaceuticals made here. We want our military industry based right here in the United States, of course. But when you're talking about consumer goods like iPhones, is that really something that needs to be made right here in the United States of America? I mean, these people just always discount the trade relationships between China and the United States. It's good to have these relationships because then we are less likely to go to war with one another. But this administration just apparently doesn't care about any of that. And instead, they want to command a private company to manufacture where they say to manufacture, or else they are going to be penalized for it. I mean, it's quite absurd coming from somebody who claims to be a Republican, right? And then here's Kevin Hassett claiming that, oh, well, these companies, they're just kind of whining with these tiny little tariffs.
Because clearly it's almost just from a physical standpoint impossible to move everything overnight. And, and the damage it could do to the company overnight is obviously tremendous.
Well, it is impossible to move things overnight. But one of the things we're seeing, I was joking with a person who does bond rating in the U.S. in my office a few weeks ago, and one of the things that happens at the Director of National Economic Council office is that CEOs line up in my office. I'm kind of like the person in an airplane that's getting walloped over the head by everybody, where everybody says, oh, like, we're never going to be able to do anything if we have this tariff. It's going to be a disaster if we have this tariff. And then my friend who's a bond rater said, actually, they come in and they tell me the opposite because they don't want the bonds to be downgraded. And so the point is that everybody is trying to make it seem like it's a catastrophe if there's a tiny little tariff on them right now to try to negotiate down the tariffs. And so in the end, we'll see what happens. We'll see what the end game is, but we don't want to harm April.
We don't want to harm Apple, and they need to stop whining about these tariffs that we are putting into place for no reason whatsoever. I mean, just get a load of these people, right? They're saying that, oh, these companies, they're whining. These tariffs aren't that bad. What are you talking about, man? They were threatening 25% tariffs on Apple. They were threatening 50% tariffs on the EU. Just a couple weeks ago, we had 145% tariffs on China. These are no small things, and they are going to be devastating to private companies. And for them to just blow it off so flippantly and say, oh, these guys are just whining about nothing, they just need to suck it up. I mean, this is not what our government should be doing. If there was a good reason to have these tariffs into place, maybe we could have a reasonable conversation about this. But that is not the case here. Donald Trump just has this hammer, and everything looks like a nail. These tariffs just go on and off again like nobody's business, and they are just causing immense pain to not only companies but to the American consumer. Now businesses can't even plan their future business because these things are just so erratic. And I want to show you his answer to when he was asked about whether or not we are going to get down to a reasonable baseline tariff, because as we just said, they've done 25%, 50%, 145%. Are we going to get into something reasonable?
8, 9, 10% tariff, business can figure out. They can find ways to do those margins. If you get above that, 20, 30, even 50%, well, that's not the case. So are you thinking eventually tariffs will get down to the level that businesses can negotiate within, 10% or less? Or do you think that a lot of this is going to be paid by the American consumer, too?
Well, in the end, that's going to be up to the president. But we've seen that 10 is a place that a lot of people have been pushed to. And I would guess that if they come in with good enough offers, then they'll stay there or perhaps even below.
These companies have not been pushed to 10% tariffs. The Trump administration implemented these tariffs without any reason at all. You have pushed companies to endure these 10% and higher tariffs. These people are insane. And the reason I play this clip is because do you see how the Overton window has now shifted, where we're now considering that 10% tariffs are actually reasonable? No big deal, when that should not be the case at all. Before Donald Trump came into office, the average across-the-board tariff was about 2.5%. And we weren't targeting every good from every country around the world. But Donald Trump has come in and he has implemented these across-the-board tariffs. And I think our average tariff rate right now is around 17%, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just not normal. And to think that we are just going to go back, maybe 10% or below would be okay, is not the right way to think about this. But I just wanted to show you how the Overton window has now shifted, where we're now considering these 10% tariffs as really the starting point or the baseline, which is just absolutely insane. And I want to show you this one last clip of Joe Kernen, where he's kind of just getting annoyed, saying, you know, are you guys even going to be able to figure this stuff out before July 9th, which is the next deadline Trump has imposed on these tariffs?
And then I don't know. So you can't talk individually about any, but.
Right, because the president finalizes everything, Joe. That's why. So you can see it. Oh, this looks pretty good to me, and this has got this and that. But until he finalizes it, yeah.
That's a July 9th deadline too, isn't it, for India?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So 27 countries in the EU, Apple, India. You know, July 9th. You're not going to sleep. No one's going to be sleeping. Isn't it too much to hope for, or will there be other delays? You see how the markets react when there's a slightest bit of a respite. I know that that's not what you're interested in, but it makes for some nervous traders like on Friday, and then here we are whipsawing back today. Is this going to continue, or?
President Trump wants the best for America and the best for our trading partners.
If Trump wanted the best for America and the best for our trading partners, why did he come in and start implementing these tariffs nilly-willy to nearly every country from around the world besides like Russia and North Korea? How is that not going to affect not only America, but our trading partners as well? Joe Kernen is clearly irritated here. The chaos is just all over the place. The uncertainty is legendary. Businesses are unable to plan for the future because they do not know what to expect in another 30 days' time, because this president is so erratic. He has no idea what he is actually doing. And it's just become, it's kind of a joke to these people. I mean, they put him on again, they put him off again, they put him on again, they put him off again. And you'll notice that every time they go on, the markets go down. They take them off, the markets go up. Every time they move away from this protectionist policy, the market goes up, as somebody pointed out on a CNN panel that we looked at. And it's just all insane. And I think I've been really liking this guy, Justin Wolfers. He's been putting out a lot of great content talking about all of this, the tariff stuff, the broader economy. And I think he just sums up this latest pause from Trump in probably the perfect way.
It's like a toddler with a TV remote control.
I love your analogies. I love them. I wait for them. I was like, where's he going to go with this? I love them. I love your analogies.
I'm not trying to be funny, mate. I'm trying to make sense of the world. You know, and it is. My young Matilda, she used to pick up the TV remote and she'd start to push buttons, and then something would attract her attention and hold her attention for a couple of minutes, but never longer than that when she was that young, and then she'd push a few more. And let me help the viewers at home make sense of, or at least understand what happened. Hold on. Trump raised the tariffs, and then he paused that raise, and he paused that pause, and then he paused that pause of the pause. If that felt hard to keep track of, thank goodness that you're not trying to do business with Europe right now. Because that is the sort of crazy math that real businesses are trying to battle with right now for no reason whatsoever.
Absolutely perfect. And he's exactly right. These tariffs went into a place for no reason whatsoever. And I really like his analogy there of the 3-year-old with the remote. Donald Trump, he like presses a button. Oh, that looks fun on TV. Oh, let's pause it there for a little bit. Maybe I'll watch. And then, let me press another button. Oh, things are out of control. Oh, let me press another button. It is such a perfect analogy. We have an adult old man president. He has absolutely no idea how trade deficits work. He has absolutely no idea how tariffs work. He came into office. He implemented these across-the-board tariffs. The markets went out of control. Businesses are just unable to do anything. They're kind of frozen in uncertainty right now. And Donald Trump is just sitting around having the time of his life. He's enriching himself with his crypto meme coin. He's taking jets from Qatar, $400 million planes, which the taxpayers are going to have to shell out another $1 billion or so to retrofit that plane so he can use it for a couple years and then take it with him when he leaves. So Donald Trump is enacting all of this pain, all of this uncertainty on pretty much the world at this point, and he is affected by basically none of it. Maybe his polling numbers are going down, but he doesn't seem to care about any of that. I don't know if that's because he has some grand scheme to stay in office longer than he is allowed to be, or if he just doesn't care because he doesn't have to worry about getting reelected. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's chaos all of the time. And Donald Trump is inflicting all of this pain just so he can feel like a big, bad, tough guy who is getting phone calls at all hours of the day because people want these tariffs to be paused that were put in place for no reason at all. So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just kind of launders all of this tariff nonsense for Donald Trump day in and day out. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. Of course, that is free. And if you guys want to see how Donald Trump just gave another bizarre speech at a West Point commencement ceremony, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. It is quite a doozy. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.